Hello folks and welcome. Today we're going to be reviewing the Tozando Iaito. I've had this sword personally for around about 9 months and it's done just over 100 hours of work in the dojo environment. And by the end of this video I hope to answer 3 questions for you: its durability, its functionality, and is it value for money? This is often a misunderstood part of the katana sort of market. People often look at it as a stage prop, a wall hanger, a decorative sword, but it's a lot more than that. And chances are the journey of every practitioner you've ever watched cut tatami mats started with one of these humble little fellows. So without further ado, let's take a deeper look at Tozando's offering of the Genbu Toryumon V2 Koshirae. Stick around. Okay, so let's talk about Tozando for a sec. Many believe that these Iaito are quality training swords, but they are on the upper end of what you'd expect to pay for a training sword. But Tozando puts out a quality product. As a company, they were established in 1989, and I think they've got 2 shop fronts in and around Kyoto to this date. And according to the website, they stand by 3 commitments, and that's quality, price, and service. And most of the Iaito offerings are made in and around the forges in the Gifu prefecture. And you can see there that you could everything you could possibly want really to train with. And as you go up, I think there's 2 and 3 levels to both those stores. It gets progressively more niche or select. And you can also buy antique Shinken, and they manufacture Shinken as well. That is how it came packaged. It was packaged quite well. There was no risk of damage, and what that equates to is just a beautifully balanced sword by people who know what they're doing. And throughout my practice, I've found no real dramas with indexing the blade, with moving it around. The point of balance is really nice. Now, on first appearances, it can appear quite understated, but to be honest, that's what I was going for. I just wanted a blade that was finished well, suited the purpose, the blade length and weight was correct, and that's what I got. Now if we move on to how you select your blade length and weight, you'll see these 2 graphs here. So different schools or royus have different terms and conditions and requirements as to what they want their practitioners to use, and that's where these graphs come in handy. As Iaito practitioners, we can be very picky about weight and length and such things. Wouldn't normally see this in many of the other forge pages, but I'd like to see it incorporated by some of the bigger companies. I think it would make it much easier on the buyer end of things. I'm not sure whether it would make the forger's job any easier, but as Iaito practitioners, when we are asked to have a sword or a blade at this length, these sort of charts come in very handy. One here is for, you'll see the length compared to your height. The shaku in sun is a measurement term that the Japanese use, and over on in the middle column there, you'll see what the actual length is in centimeters. The suka, they have corresponding lengths according to the length of the blade, but if you're a practitioner with extra large hands, or your arms are a bit longer, you might want to look either side of those designated measurements there. But again, this is very handy when you're looking to dial in on, do I want a handle that's a couple of centimeters longer? Do I want a blade that's a bit longer, a bit shorter, that type of thing? So this is where the customization process sort of comes into its own when you're looking at this type of training sword. Okay, so moving on to the weight and blade length, you'll see here it's got the shaku down one side on the left hand side, and the options are with the bohei, a deep groove, no groove, and that's another type of blade there where they go on and repeat the same thing. And the rest of the graph is the approximated weight in grams. Now if you change the Tsuba, do different things like that, that will change the weight. Mine has gone up a little bit when I changed the Tsuba, but we'll get to that in a moment. Alright guys, hope you're liking it so far. So I just thought I'd chime in and give you a real world look at the one I'm displaying there and all the roll. Now this one actually came from Tozando. If you bought it stock standard, it would be 770 grams. Now with the change I made to the Tsuba, it was 784 grams, so a little bit of difference there. Whether that aids in bringing that weight back towards the handle, I don't know. I think it's pretty negligible. The balance point on this without the saya is sitting right on 14 centimeters, so it's pretty close anyway. You know, big fan of how they fit and finish all this. And as a practitioner, I really appreciate the work that's gone into it. So if you like what we're doing here, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm a very new channel, and I'm trying to build a bit of a base so that I can be more appealing to other companies that want to send us products so that we can review and showcase and put online. So if you like what you see, you've got any questions, queries, comments, suggestions, then I'm all ears. But I'd very much like to build this channel up so we can do more of this kind of stuff, especially for the general practitioner here in Australia. I know that when I was going through my journey, I was actually very surprised at what we didn't have here in Australia. And I found that out when I was buying the uniforms and I was buying the obi, the hakama, the dogi, all the gear that's associated when you get into this type of thing. And I think that's a review probably for another time, as the how much does it cost, what's the initial setup to get into this type of thing if you're looking to train seriously. So thanks again, guys, continue on, and I hope the rest is very interesting to you. And you also get an idea of what it's going to feel like, what weight you're dealing with if you're training for an hour or so at a time. Tends to be rather important to prevent fatigue, and the more weight you have in a sword, the more you tend to compensate for it, and that can affect form as well. But no such problem when you're looking at these swords as a training tool and an implement. You can dial in on that. What's the best length for me? What's the best weight? And hopefully bring out your best form. So if you're ordering straight off the website, this is the Tsuba that it comes with. Now, as a practitioner, that just looks like it's got too much open space to have your fingers slip through. You might sort of grate your fingers and that type of thing when you're cinching up on the handle. So I'm all one for practicality. There's nothing wrong with this, but it's a matter of personal preference, really. They've since put a picture up of the Tsuba that I did get, and I thought that actually changed the colouring of it. But they always like to present them in the best light. Obviously, I reproduced that colouring just with the lights I had at home here and got it to glow that sort of chromy finish. But in life, in real time, this is what it sort of looks like. And there's a reflection of that chroming that sort of happens, but it has a lovely, almost black brown patina to it that just catches the light. And as you can see, the suka, the fittings, they're all bedding in very nicely. The end knot is pretty much flush. It's just really nicely finished with that cross-hatching style of the bamboo. And you can see there on the other side that just continues through there. All in all, a very well-balanced sword. The way I've set it up, there's no big snags or catches, and whether I'm working up from the ground with my kata or doing standing stuff, there's no concern with snagging. I always know where the saya is, I always know where the blade is, where the handle is in relation to what I'm doing. And okay, so there's no use having all that if you can't hang on to it. So let's move to the handle. This is a cotton ito wrap with full hishigami and semigawa wrap as well. And it's really tight. It seems to be bedding in, not wearing out at all. The fuchi, the makugi peg, the manuki, the Koshirae, they all transition beautifully and play their part. You can see there the end knot is pretty much flush. And the transitions between that butt end of the katana going into the handle is just millimeter perfect. It's really quite nice, and that's a theme that's carried on right through the handle there. You can see the fuchi, the seppa, and the tsuba all tie in really nicely there. The habaki, I'm a big fan. Casting quality, again, is brilliant here. Not muddy, not speckled, no file lines or anything. The habaki is in the Yojo design, but it goes by a few names like Rising Moon, Rain Cloud, Bamboo Leaf. A little bit of wear and tear, you can see there where it grips into the saya, but the transitioning, once again, is beautiful, and there's no bumping or catching on the koyaguchi as you're drawing or sheathing this one. And moving on to the Tsuba, this is a Moko Gata style, and it has a saya gata design of interlocking manji, is what the report is on the website there. This is thought to originate from Buddhist symbols, and as you can see, they're crisp as it's the best I've seen in any sword at all, really. So that all just sort of equals to a balanced, brilliant little Iaito that I don't have to worry about catching on the close. Doesn't matter whether I'm drawing or sheathing. I know where the blade is. I know what techniques I can use with it in that position that I'm in. And all in all, don't regret buying this. It's been solid. The blade, all importantly, let's move on to that. So this is a alloy aluminium blade, but it's not just aluminium. According to the information sheet, it has zinc, aluminium, copper, magnesium, beryllium, iron, tin, cadmium, and lead, which probably leads to why it's so durable. You can see the straight Sugahara Hammond line there, and a single deep groove of the bohea. And it's just finished really well. It's semi-polished, they say, but in the right light you can see it really shines well. And again, just showing you in real time there, and you can see that single deep bohea. It's finished really well, and the attention to detail on the tip here, the Chukasak, I will get to in a moment. But this is the Tachikaze. This is why we buy these. And as you can see, it produces that without much effort at all. So this is just from the other side of the handle there. You can see it's quite uniform. The diamonds don't stray. The Hishigami just seem to be bedding into those triangles and making it even more comfortable. You can see the blade there again. It's a polished finish on it, semi-polish. But the interplay with what they've done here on the tip is really quite beautiful. And even though it's much easier to polish and finish these swords because it's softer metal, I get that. They could have just left it alone. But you can see here they've got different polishing angles and how it curves up around the Chukasak there. And that's the representation they have on their website. So very much what you see, what you get there. The attention to detail is on point for what it is. And, you know, the thing is, you've got a balanced Iaito that's very comfortable to move around. You can see me here switching angles, turning the blade, turning the direction, and there's no drama with straining or wrestling with the blade at all. It goes where you tell it to go, and it's very forgiving in that it's not sharp. It still has a point. These things have points on them, so caution must be maintained. Now, there's no use having all that if you can't put it somewhere nice, and this is where the Seiya again has full bullhorn reinforcement on the butt cap and the Koyaguchi. There's a close-up coming to the Koyaguchi, and you'll just notice on the top right there's some little pitting where the point of the blade has been misguided by myself, but all in all, over 100 hours, and it's holding up really well. The only thing I don't like is the Korakata. Way too geometrical for my liking. You can see there it's quite ridgy. Others are sort of rounded over, and on times it can be a bit rough on the hand, cause some minor bruising. On the upside, I've got no problem indexing where the Seiya is and performing draws and sheaths and whatnot, but I just would have liked to have seen that a little more refined. That's the only thing that, only hang up I have about it. It has no shitadome, but I don't think, strictly speaking, that's necessary. And if they're put in and not glued, then there's that risk of scratching the Seiya in itself. But all in all, the Seiya is very well thought out and finished really nicely. There's no ridges or anything like that can catch your hands or get stuck in your clothing. The Sageo that it came with was lovely and soft. There was no stiffness to it, and it's very easily handled. And as you can see there, that stone finish or Kuroshimi finish really complements the blade. So another thing I found is the way that you can index your thumb. This sometimes is called a chrysanthemum style Tsuba. And when you first begin Iaito, the temptation is to sort of put your thumb on top of the sword. Now, obviously your thumb would drop away a bit more once that sword is open, but just for the sake of demonstration here, the temptation is to have it on top. If you open the sword from that and draw, you can see the type of problems that you have. So I found it's very easy to index. You just roll that thumb over and bang, you're where you should be. So that's just another little side benefit of getting the correct sort of shaped Tsuba and design that you need for your particular training. And as you can see here, I'm moving it around from all sorts of positions. It's easy to draw. The balance of the blade allows you to do a number of chiburi and noto from any position, and as long as you've got your hands in the right place and your technique is down, you can index where everything is and send the blade home. All in all, quite a pleasure to train with. You'll get tired before the sword does, put it that way, and half the time you want to continue because it's just an absolute joy and pleasure to use. So a quality product by Tozando. I've got other Iaitos I've used. I had a 1060 Sea King katana from Harborne Forge. Unfortunately, after probably 2 months of training, the Koshirae was starting to come out, and I can rewrap handles, so it's not a huge problem, but I'd rather not do it if I didn't have to. But with this one, with all the hours that I've put through, it is just held up and stood the test of 100 hours so far and 9 odd months. So stand by. I may do a 12-month review. I might do an 18-month review on it. But so far, it is just ticking away well up to the task and made to last.